Whispers in the Fog. Chapter 1. The Vanishing. Detective Claire Morgan had seen her fair share of mysteries, but none like this. A wealthy tech entrepreneur, Daniel Whitmore, disappeared without a trace from his lakeside mansion. The security footage? Corrupted. The staff? Sworn to secrecy. All that remained was a single voicemail, distorted and filled with whispers. The Whitmore estate stood like a relic from another era, its towering Victorian frame partially obscured by the thick morning fog. Ivy twisted along the weathered columns, and the heavy oak doors bore intricate carvings that seemed to whisper secrets of their own. The stone driveway, slick with last night's rain, glistened under the pale gray sky. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of aged wood and damp fabric. The grand foyer was vast, with a sweeping staircase that curled like a serpent. A crystal chandelier hung above, its once brilliant glow dulled by years of dust. Framed family portraits lined the walls, their stoic faces watching silently. The study, where Daniel was last seen, reeked of stale cigar smoke and brandy. Dark mahogany shelves cradled leather-bound tomes, their spines cracked with age. A fireplace, now cold, stood sentinel against the far wall. Papers were scattered across the massive desk, and an overturned glass lay among them, its contents staining the Persian rug beneath. Outside, the lake loomed like a ghostly mirror, reflecting the somber sky. Wisps of mist hovered just above the water's surface, curling and twisting as if beckoning something unseen. The rhythmic lapping of the water was punctuated only by the occasional creak of the old dock, swaying under the weight of the fog. Detective Morgan pulled her coat tighter against the biting wind. The storm had passed, but the chill lingered. She traced her gloved fingers along the damp banister, studying the silence that clung to the house. Somewhere in the distance, a single crow cawed, breaking the uneasy stillness. The investigation had begun, but the mansion's secrets were far from ready to be unearthed. Chapter 2. The Suspects. Claire's investigation led her to the people closest to Whitmore. His enigmatic wife, Evelyn, who had a dark past. His business partner, Vincent, with motives buried beneath layers of corporate deception. And the reclusive groundskeeper, who claimed to hear voices echoing from the lake. The interrogation room in the local precinct was stark and unwelcoming. Dim fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a pale glow on the scratched metal table. The air smelled faintly of stale coffee and disinfectant. Evelyn sat across from Claire, her dark hair impeccably styled, though her trembling hands betrayed her composure. Her voice was soft, but calculated. She spoke of her husband's long hours, the growing distance between them, and the shadows of mistrust that had crept into their marriage. Next was Vincent. His office was a world away from the somber mansion. Modern, with sleek leather chairs and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city skyline. Framed awards lined the walls, each one a testament to his relentless ambition. Yet, beneath his polished exterior, there was a flicker of something darker. He denied any wrongdoing, his words dripping with charm. But Claire caught the subtle tightening of his jaw. Finally, the groundskeeper. His small cottage stood at the edge of the estate, nestled beneath twisted oaks. The porch sagged under its own weight, and the windows were coated with a thin film of dust. Inside, the walls were lined with faded newspaper clippings, stories of missing persons, unexplained disappearances, and local legends of the lake. The old man's voice trembled as he spoke of the whispers that echoed across the water, of the shadows that moved just beyond the fog. As Claire left the cottage, the sky darkened. A low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, and the wind carried the scent of rain. The storm would return soon. She stood at the edge of the lake, the mist curling around her feet like ghostly fingers. Somewhere beneath the still surface, the truth waited to be found. Chapter 3. The Clue in the Fog. The morning fog returned with a vengeance, wrapping the Whitmore estate in an eerie embrace. Claire stood in the darkened study, the stale air thick with the lingering scent of smoke. Dust motes swirled in the pale light that filtered through the tall arched windows. The heavy velvet curtains were partially drawn, casting long, ominous shadows along the mahogany walls. The sound of the rain had dulled to a misty drizzle, barely audible through the thick glass panes. Outside, the trees loomed like silent sentinels, their skeletal branches reaching toward the lake. The water was calm now, the mist hovering like a shroud. Yet something about its stillness unsettled Claire. She turned her attention to the desk, where the corrupted footage was loaded on her laptop. The faint hum of the machine filled the room, broken only by the occasional creak of the ancient floorboards. Claire leaned closer, watching the distorted video flicker across the screen. A figure, barely visible through the mist. It moved with unsettling purpose, the shadowy outline twisting and shifting. Then came the laughter, hollow, distant. It echoed through the static, sending a chill down Claire's spine. She played the clip again, and again. Each time the laughter grew fainter, almost as if the very act of observing it drained it of its strength. The corrupted data yielded little else, but one detail stood out: a reflection. In the water. As if something, or someone, had been watching from beneath the surface. The thought gnawed at her. The lake had always been at the heart of the mystery. Claire's instincts told her that whatever secrets lay hidden, the water held the key. And the whispers? Perhaps they were not merely echoes of the past, but a warning. She closed the laptop, the screen's glow vanishing like a dying ember. The storm clouds above thickened once more, and the rhythmic patter of rain resumed. With a steady breath, Claire pulled her coat tightly around her and stepped into the shadows. The lake was waiting. Chapter 4. A Dangerous Truth. The wind howled through the twisted branches as Claire approached the cabin on the far side of the lake. The air was thick with moisture, the remnants of a passing storm. Mud sucked at her boots with each step, and the fog curled low, obscuring the narrow dirt path. Towering pines loomed overhead, their skeletal limbs creaking in protest against the wind. The cabin itself was a skeletal remnant of its former self. The wooden planks were warped and blackened with rot. Shattered windows, their jagged edges like teeth, revealed the darkness within. The roof sagged, barely held together by rusted nails and neglect. Inside, the damp air was oppressive. Mold clung to the cracked walls, and the floorboards groaned under Claire's cautious steps. A single lantern flickered on a rickety table, casting jittering shadows along the walls. Cobwebs trembled in the dim light. In the corner, Daniel Whitmore slumped against the wall, his face hollowed and pale. The secrets he tried to bury had finally caught up to him. Outside, the rain began to fall once more, each drop a muffled drumbeat against the cabin's fragile roof. The storm was far from over. Chapter 5. Confrontation. The air inside the cabin was suffocating. Claire's pulse pounded as she approached Whitmore, his sunken eyes flickering with something between fear and resignation. The shadows danced along the damp walls, elongating his frail form. "It's over, Daniel." Claire's voice was steady, though the weight of the moment threatened to crush her. The whispers, the secrets, they end now. But before he could respond, the door creaked open. The wind howled through the gap, scattering dust and dead leaves. Evelyn Whitmore emerged from the fog like a ghost, her dark coat slick with rain. Her trembling hands clutched a small revolver, the barrel unsteady as it pointed toward Claire. "Stay back," Evelyn's voice cracked, her tear-streaked face pale. "You don't understand. The lake. It won't let him go." Claire kept her voice low, her hands raised in a calming gesture. "Evelyn, this isn't the way. Whatever hold the lake has, it's only as strong as we allow it to be." Whitmore's eyes darted between the two women. "They promised," he whispered. "They said I could be free." But the whispers never stopped. A crack of thunder rattled the cabin, the lantern's flame quivering. Evelyn's hands shook, and for a heartbeat, Claire saw the devastating weight of years spent under the lake's influence. But then, Evelyn's fingers loosened. The gun clattered to the floor. Whitmore collapsed, sobbing. Claire swiftly secured the weapon and guided Evelyn to a chair. The storm outside raged on, but within the cabin, there was a fragile stillness. The police arrived soon after, their flashing lights cutting through the fog. Whitmore was taken into custody, his whispered ramblings echoing as he was led away. Evelyn, though broken, seemed lighter, as though the lake's hold had finally loosened. Days later, Claire stood at the water's edge. The mist had begun to lift, revealing the lake in its solemn beauty. The whispers were gone. Whatever secrets the lake once held, they had been silenced. But as she turned to leave, a ripple disturbed the surface. The water, dark and endless, swallowed it whole. The lake kept its secrets well, and some truths were meant to remain beneath the surface. The end. Thanks for watching. If you want more interesting stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. That was your Uncle Logan. Take care.